Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, February 17th, 2022, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new map from the state of North Carolina that has been proposed by, I believe, the statewide delegation in the state assembly, where they have put forth this map that gives the Democratic Party more representation than the initial map that they had passed, in which would have given the GOP a margin of 10-3 when it comes down to the amount of Republican seats versus Democratic seats with just one competitive district. You know, looking at the multiple, renditions of the congressional map here, it has gotten a lot better from the previous map that had been passed and signed into place because there is a statewide supermajority in terms of the Republican Party in the state of North Carolina, so it gives them enough of an opportunity to at least go above and beyond what the governor or the Democrat might actually want. But the congressional map that initially passed was such an insane GOP gerrymander that the North Carolina Supreme Court had to speak on it and actually strike it down. This is the map that the North Carolina Republican Party wanted to pass, and in fact did pass before the Supreme Court had intervened. Taking a look at the 1st District, the 3rd District, the 8th District, the 7th District, the 10th, the 12th, the 11th, the 5th, 13th, these all became solid red districts. I mean, you're talking about a total number, I believe, of 8 districts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 districts that were safe GOP no matter what out of 14, in addition to 2 seats that leaned in favor of the GOP pretty heavily, Republican plus 10, Republican plus 12, in addition to another toss-up seat that leaned in favor of the GOP, in favor of the Democrats by just 1 percentage point. Nothing competitive, really. You know, for 2022, for the sake of that map, the Democrats would have only won just 3 individual seats in the state of North Carolina. Now, North Carolina actually isn't a state that has been pushed back upon, in the past. The North Carolina Supreme Court in 2018 ruled that their old map was a gerrymander and forced a new map, such as this one, to be drawn. What it did was gave the Democrats 5 congressional seats in the 2020 election, and that was, something that the Democrats really were happy with, because previously they had only had 3. And with these 5 additional seats, what happened in the state of North Carolina was that the Republicans felt as if that this map did not go as extreme. They could have easily passed this map again with changing 0 lines and adding an additional district that likely could have been Republican leaning, and it would have gone to the Supreme Court, and they probably would not have struck it down. The Republican Party instead went for absolutely everything in their brand new map that they had proposed, and what you find here is that the Democrats really stood no chance at winning the majority of seats from the state of North Carolina. Historically speaking, North Carolina has gone back and forth when it comes down to the statewide popular vote, so of course the statewide Supreme Court decided to shut it down. Now, seeing this map, I would say that this is probably one of the most insane and egregious gerrymanders that we are used to from the GOP when it comes down to North Carolina. It's very similar to the one that they tried to pass in the state of Ohio that was also stricken down by the Ohio Supreme Court. But because of the ruling from the Supreme Court in the state of North Carolina, they declared that it must be a proportional map, meaning that it would follow the 2020 House election results. Considering there were 14 congressional districts, Democrats were hopeful there would be a 7-7 delegation, but keep in mind that Republicans are the ones drawing it. But the Republicans aren't going to go back for a map such as this. In fact, today they have proposed a brand new map that actually shows better news for the Democratic Party, and we'll talk about that right now. Looking at this brand new map, what it has done is given the Democrats 3 safe districts. That's actually down from what it used to be, but you have to continue down the line. Republicans, however, only have 4 safe districts. In the old map, they had 6, and in the older map prior to this one, so I guess the middle map, the one that was initially passed but shot down, this one had 8 safe seats. So from 8 to 4, you can already see a significant improvement for the Democratic Party. But the Republicans still have the upper hand. And they have the upper hand because it is, in a sense, fair to have more Republican representation from North Carolina than it means to have Democratic representation, simply based off of years past and historical representation and historical precedent. But looking at the map here, Democrats could absolutely win a majority of the seats in North Carolina if they have a beneficial type of year like 2018, or potentially even a year like 2020. You know, North Carolina is not a state that voted for President Trump by a heavy amount either in 2016 or 2020. It narrowed down to a state that voted for Donald Trump by a margin of 1.3. He could not even crack a majority of the vote in the state of North Carolina. Now, looking at the partisan breakdown, what you are going to find is that while the Republicans do have their 4 safe seats, the 3rd District, the 9th District, the 8th District, and the 10th District, which it did, the 8th District actually drew 2 Republicans together. One of them is actually running for Senate, so it looks like Richard Hudson should undoubtedly win that GOP primary. What this does is make some of the previously more solid GOP counties and districts and turns them into toss-ups. For instance, the 6th district actually gets a bit significantly more Republican. It goes from Democrat plus 21 to Republican plus 3. But it turns the 4th district to a Democratic stronghold. The 2nd district remains the same. The 12th district remains the same. And the 1st district, which used to be Democrat plus 7, becomes Democrat plus 5. But all of this Democratic vote diluting turns the 6th district back into a competitive one, which Democrats previously did not need to worry about. But in comparison to the old map, I would say it is, a bit fairer. It takes the 13th district, which otherwise would have been taken and turned into a very solid district, into a partisan lean of just Republican plus 6. And then it takes a Republican in the 5th district and turns it into a Republican plus 15 map. While that isn't the best news, it definitely is better than being in a map where it's Republican plus 39. So from Republican plus 39 to Republican plus 15, in an off year for the GOP, it is possible for Democrats to win there. They have won in districts with higher partisan leans in favor of the GOP. Looking at the 14th district, another open race, this becomes a toss-up, Republican plus 5. Looking at the 11th district, it narrows down Madison Cawthorn into a Republican plus 15 district. In the 12th district, again, shores up there, shores up the 4th, shores up the 2nd, pretty much tells all these Democrats that they have a possibility at winning. Then they also had the additional 7th congressional district with a Republican incumbent, now a partisan lean of Republican plus 3. Previously, it had a partisan lean of Republican plus 21. So the Democratic Party dilution and the vote share being split was in an effort to benefit the Democratic Party in the long run. It was done in an effort to give Democrats more opportunities for pickups. If this was the 2018 type of midterm year, what you would find is that Democrats would absolutely win all of the 4 seats they are favored to do so, but they would win here as well. That's 5. They would win here in the 7th district. That's 6th. They would likely win in the 13th district. That's 7. Looking at the 5th, it might be possible, but probably out of reach, but in the 14th district, absolutely attainable. And that's 8. And that alone would put the Democrats in the majority when it comes down to the House delegation from the state of North Carolina. Democrats really haven't had much luck. Looking at the map, it's gone back and forth between stricken down. I mean, take a look at this map, right? Just look at how insane this gerrymander was, how they did this in an effort to completely group 2 cities all together, 3 cities, in fact, all together to consolidate the Democratic vote share. I mean, this is absolutely insane. The fact that this was a district is appalling. It is absolutely sickening to see just how far of an extent that politicians are willing to go in order to dilute voters and pretty much make districts be elected by simply those who are there. Looking at the map here, what you find here is that there were just 3 districts for the Democrats following the 2012 elections, despite this state not going to Mitt Romney by no more than just a few percentage points. I mean, it was absolutely ludicrous to see this map. 2014 ended up being a very similar type of year, and then you go ahead and fast forward to 2016 where you have a brand new map, but then again, this map didn't do much better for the Democrats. They still had a position where this was not giving them any more representation. Even in 2018, what you found was that Democrats, while they made a good play in the 9th district, they were able to narrow down the 2nd, narrow down the 7th, narrow down the 8th, narrow down the 6th, narrow down the 13th, narrow down the 5th. It was very clear that it was diluting the vote, because otherwise at least some district would have flipped, especially in the 2018 type of circumstances. The North Carolina Supreme Court rules on that, but what you are going to find, historically speaking, is that after 2008, the Democrats never won back control of the House of Representatives in terms of the representation from the state of North Carolina. Even in 2010, when the Democratic Party lost control of the House, the Democrats still maintained their advantage in North Carolina. That was because this map more heavily favored them. But then Republicans came into power, and they completely drew the maps. What you found here was that there were numerous pickups in 2012. What you found was that they were solidified further in 2014. 2016, they had a new map. 2020, they had a new map. And that's what we've been working with now, and they have a brand new map after their previous one had been stricken down. Now, this North Carolina map actually gets a bit better for the Democratic Party beyond this initial proposal that we are seeing on the national level. When it comes down to the state house, what you might be surprised to see is that this new map, in the addition third of the state house map, now it passed with a vote of 115-5 because Democrats were super happy about this, but there is some concern, which we will discuss in another video, and there's also, no guarantees about the actuality of some of these maps becoming reality. But looking at this map, what this new state house map would do is give the Democrats 59 seats here based off of Joe Biden's victory and give the Republicans 61. This map would effectively draw the state of North Carolina into a fair map. It would give the Republicans the upper hand narrowly, like they won in 2020, but give the Democrats a fighting chance at control. Right now, keep in mind that the Republican Party has a statewide supermajority when it comes down to their delegations. This map reducing it to 61 Trump to 59 Biden means the Democrats truly could tie the Republicans in the North Carolina House of Representatives. That should excite many Democrats across the nation. Seeing that this court ruling actually ended up putting us in a position where we could very truly have a fair map out of the state of North Carolina is a testament to why more of these court systems should actually speak on these congressional districts, should speak on these statewide drawn districts, because they are super important and they could make or break an election for either political party. I am a firm believer that fair representation matters, and that's why I think this map is better altogether, just in terms of representing voters, representing voices across the nation. Republicans probably aren't super happy, but they really have no choice. Because the statewide Supreme Court said they have to go with proportionality, because the statewide Supreme Court said that they cannot draw the maps in favor of a political party on purpose, what the Republicans have done in the past is completely ignore these provisions in the law, completely ignore the anti-gerrymandering precedent that has been set by the state of North Carolina, even more recently. I mean, I don't know why they didn't decide to go with the old map, because chances are the same exact people who were on the court then, who approved this map, would very likely approve a very similar map. But instead, they wanted to go for it all. And that's where it came crashing down. That's where it came to a position where the Supreme Court said, we were okay with an 8-5 map. We will not approve a 10-4 map. In the best case for Democrats, a worst case of 11-3. The state of North Carolina is far from a state that is a GOP stronghold. This is a state that the GOP has to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in to win. A state that the GOP has to focus a lot of their efforts on to win. And while they have won in years past, there is no guarantee that in the future the state of North Carolina won't go to the Democratic Party, even in this upcoming Senate election. I think there's a lot to unpack when it comes down to North Carolina, because it is a state where Republicans have had historic victories, but that's not to say that Democrats haven't been able to win here. Kay Hagan was able to win here, and she was actually serving as recently as 2015. So the state of North Carolina really hasn't shied away. In fact, in 2020, on the same ballot that Donald Trump won, the Democrat won the governor election by a margin of 5 percentage points statewide. So if that's not telling you of anything, I'm not entirely sure what is. I think that North Carolina definitely could elect a Democrat, and looking at the House popular vote from years past, it makes sense that this new map is supposedly going to be implemented. I'm hopeful that it is, simply for the sake of representation and increased bipartisanship and a force, swing districts for further discussions and combinations of different ideology groups backing different candidates, and a contested election is probably one of my favorite ones, simply because I can cover it. But all around, I think that this map is a step in the right direction. It's not perfect. I think that there are some things that we need to discuss here in the future. You're talking about the cracking of cities. You have Greensboro area that is being drawn into 3 to 4 congressional districts. You have Charlotte that is cracked practically down the middle, and it seems evident why they've done that, why they've consolidated Democratic vote on one side and, left more Republican vote on the other. That's, again, something to discuss in the future. But I do think this is our step in the right direction. I think what we are going to find is that voters will probably be more enthused to vote in elections if they actually have a chance at victory, if they actually have a chance at choosing the right nominee and ending up advancing to the general election and winning said general election. The Senate election probably won't bode well for the Democratic Party, considering the history in North Carolina and the fact that there's already a Republican incumbent, but again, no one can tell. We will find out in November. This map is going to be beneficial for Democrats because it is automatically going to give them pickups in a future election. While they may not instantaneously get them if this map was to go through, because in 2022, if it ends up being a red wave year, you probably won't see Democrats win most of these districts, and it could go down to 11-4. But giving Democrats the means to reach a majority in a year like 2018 is exactly what needed to get done. While one year may look exactly how this map was ending up supposed to be, looking at 4 years down the line, 6 years down the line, it's entirely possible that North Carolina ends up with 8 Democratic representatives and just 7 Democratic representatives and 8 to 6. So 8 Democratic representatives and 6 Republican representatives. I know it doesn't seem like something that is super likely or something that is super possible, but right now the GOP doesn't have a super large advantage in the state of North Carolina like they did in years past, and it absolutely isn't within play, especially considering the most recent recent 2020 and 2018 North Carolina House of Representatives statewide popular vote. Seeing the Democrats win there in 2020 and almost win in 2018 is definitely a testament to the Democrats and their abilities to win in North Carolina. They only needed the right map to provide them with the ample opportunity to do so, not only on the congressional level, but also on the more localized state house and state senate level. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2022 election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.